little old country school. All the children arrive at school one morning, and there's one little child missing. Eventually, this little girl arrives very late. The teacher says, "Mandy, why are you so late?" She said, "Sorry, miss, I had to take Bull to cow." And the teacher says, "Could your father do it?" She said, "Oh no, it has to be a bull."
Good evening,
You're
and welcome
completely
to another exciting show. Hey! And tonight we've got the bowler hat farmer, Mark Bayford. Here we go. And then we've got Chris the gardener.
evening.
And we got, I've called himself, I was going to say Eric von Swede Basher, but people wouldn't know what a Swede Basher is because that's a term. Do you know what a Swede Basher is?
I'm guessing a potato masher that you use to mash Swede.
No,
they
it's actually
people from Devon, weren't they?
correct. And they was known as Swede Bashers because they used to make this player's game where they used to have a Swede on the end of a lump of string or rope and then swing it round and hit people with buckets over their heads. Weird, isn't it? You know. Anyway, that was the game of Swede bashing. So there we go. Anyway, we've got an exciting show tonight, and we're going to find out a heck of a lot, about what's going on with our food. Because I've noticed mounds and mounds of food in my local supermarket. But first of all, blimey, that's a good impression you've done of a dog, and that amazing. You didn't move your lips.
Yeah, I did that without moving my lips. That is actually a dog which I think potentially might want to go outside. I'm not sure. So I might just have to quickly deal with that. You talk amongst yourselves and I'll be back in a second, Chris.
Righto. Well, I can sort of go. He's clear. That was a very long time that Chris was on here for. But anyway, we're going to do a healing session. And coming up in future shows, we're going to do one show on healing. And Mark, you might want to come in on it as well, because food is to do with healing.
Absolutely, 100%.
So we're going to do a healing show. We might have Dawn on, if I can get her on. Dawn, Dr. Fleetwood, yourself, and a few other. We can't have more than 4, unfortunately, because of the computer wouldn't hand it, basically. And also, it gets a bit too muddled with more than 4. 3 is okay.
I think 3. I think your optimum, mate.
Is ideal.
When we had 4 on the Christmas show, I struggled a little bit with it because you were all talking over each other. 3's a happy number, mate. I think.
I have found that in the past.
Yeah.
So
it'll be whoever pays the most fop bobs will be on the show. You see, so there we go.
Corruption. Mr.
So it's called corruption, yes. So backhands with fop bobs will be all right. Right now, first of all, we're gonna have a little healing session, and I believe there's somebdy that's a little Tom and Dick in your family.
Yeah, let's get the elephant out in the room. And so obviously, I think most people probably know my wife Jess is just been diagnosed with breast cancer. So not good times, but obviously we're facing it with a positive attitude. She's in hospital tomorrow morning. Poor cow's got to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow. That's going to hurt us both. And she's having the whatever it is, the cancer, the lump removed tomorrow, and then couple of weeks probably to recover, and then she's going to have some more treatment down the road. So yeah, it's a little bit crap. Is what it is, though, mate.
Well, we're all going to send out a healing message now, and we just sort of have a thought. Here we are. So we used to do with Dead.
I like
nice
this.
Thought.
Cheers, Chris.
She's getting better. Tomorrow. It's all gone, it's all past, and she's going to feel better than she's ever felt. So
Thank you, mate.
That's all right.
Very
and
kind.
It works because.
Well, of course it does, mate. There's a lot of power in 4. I've got to let this dog in now, so
okay.
That's for the moment.
Well, John in Siam, he didn't know that we was, because of the time difference, he didn't know we were sending healing thoughts at him because he was all on his Todd during the lockdown and he didn't wear a mask in Siam. That's bravery. That is guts. That really is. And he stood up to it. He said,
Good boy.
Not those words, I'm not going to stand it. And we sent out healing thoughts, and he felt a lot better, because you imagine being the only Brit there standing up to it. That he was. So,
John's a beautiful man, isn't he, Chris? He's a very generous with his, critique, and he enjoyed the one that you were on, Mark. He wrote a lovely comment on BitChute.
Sweet.
The time you were on there, mate.
I haven't quite worked that one out yet, BitChute.
Mate, it's a bit like YouTube, but without the bullshit, basically. It's not as quick as YouTube. It's obviously not got as many channels or as, but if you're looking for different information, BitChute is, if I was uploading content, mate, I'd be putting it on BitChute, because it's definitely, I mean, Odyssey, that's been sold now, mate. I don't think that's ever going to be what it was before. And Rumble, I don't know. There seems to be some quite corporate connections with that. And BitChute, it's like a one-man chap. It's a guy called Ray. He's pumped a load of his own money into it. He's had all his bank accounts frozen. He seems like a real sincere and decent chap. You can upload content to BitChute. Pretty sure that it's not going to be taken down because you said something naughty. So
yeah,
this is why. What happens?
Because I often do that.
It'll automatically go up to BitChute. It's loaded on. I've sort of programmed it to do that. And it depends on when YouTube release this film. So sometimes it goes on at 1 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes you have to wait until about 11 o'clock next day. That's if they haven't taken it down. But we'd like to wish everybody a happy new year, you see. And people say, hang on,
absolutely,
in January. Oh no, because this is a little bit of information. Here we go.
I'm recording this on the 31st of March. That used to be New Year's Eve. That was until 1582, when Pope Gregory XIII ordered a new calendar, known as the Gregorian calendar, which made the New Year's Eve in December and New Year's Day the 1st of January. Well, it took time for people to get used to this new idea of the year ending in December and beginning in January. And to hasten the process up, what they did, they laughed at people that still recognised the old system where the 1st of April was the new year, hence the term April Fools.
And that's it. See? So that's it. And you can see more of that on my Telegram channel. Now, the thing is, Fockham Hall has adopted the old calendar now. So our new year is the 1st of April. And I was looking at all the different ceremonies, and there's a Passover. And last night should be Passing Wind night. And the reason why is because nothing to do with flatulence. It's March winds, April showers. So to see the end of the March winds, we'll have the Passing Winds night. You see? So that's so I'm thinking of contacting the diaries and saying I want Fockham all in their diaries saying 1st of April, Fockham New Year. So how about that then, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do it.
Why not?
We're all behind you. We'll all back it.
Absolutely.
Why not?
This is what I've been talking to you about for the last 9 months, about just creating your own reality.
Yeah.
Honestly, me and my wife live in a world that nobody could penetrate because it wouldn't mean anything to the rest of you. We've got words that we've made up and little phrases like for things. So I'll let you in. I'll just let you in on one. So when we first got together 10 years ago, when we had a proper old-fashioned courtship, Mark, as well. Thanks, Sally. We dated for a long time before we became intimate, and it was old fashioned, mate. And we'd speak for an hour, 2 hours on the phone every night, and we'd text each other asking if the other one was free to chat. Well, whether you're free, you remember Are You Being Served? You remember John Ingman and I'm free. Well, we would text each other in the end and just say, "Are you John?" And that was our word for "Are you free for a chat?" And like I say, we've got our own language, our own little world. We're talking giraffes, and this is the way to be. I believe is make your own reality. Have New Year's when you want to have New Year's, mate. So from now on, New Year's Eve for me will be the 31st of March, and New Year's Day will be the 1st of April.
Yeah,
it'll be Fockham Hall Day.
And remember, passing wind. Remember, we've got to celebrate passing wind.
Passing wind
on the 31st of March. You see, I mean, I had a bean salad last night, so I was well away, you know. But anyway, on with the show. Now, Mark, I walked into my local supermarket. I didn't mention Tesco's because there are other supermarkets available, of course. So that's why I didn't mention it. And there's spuds piled mile high, almost to the ceiling, 15 pence a bag. Mm-hmm. And they've got carrots, onions, which is bringing me very close to a smutty joke, but we'll mention that after you've said it about carrots and onions. And I bought too many spuds deliberately so I can start chitting. No, I said chitting with a CH, you see, so I can grow my own spuds. Because for 15 pence, you can't go far wrong. So what the bloody hell is behind it? What's going on? And it was the same in Aldi. They're selling cheap stuff at the same price in Aldi.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Okay, let's cover two things. One, let's hope that all the potatoes you've bought have not been sprayed, because a lot of the time they will spray them off before they leave the farm. They put a chemical on them, and that chemical stops them chitting. So you might find that they're blind because that's what they do to deliberately stop people having access to grow their own food. So they spray a chemical on and that stops them shooting. So you will only know this through the course of time. Put them in a dark place and see what happens. So what do I think is happening? Well, I've witnessed that from a farm side, the massive carrot farm near me, which they farm thousands of acres, just carrots. They don't do anything else, just carrots. And when I called there the other day to pick up carrots, the forklift driver says, this is the last time you'll be coming in for carrots for a while. And I said, why is that? He said, well, it's as simple as this. It's too wet to get on the ground to lift last year's crop, and it's too wet to sow this year's crop. So we're going to have a period where we have no carrots. Now, this is a traditional thing in the carrot trade every year. We would normally move on to French carrots for about a 6-week window. They've closed the factory until September. That's the earliest point they will open. So that says to me we're going to have horrendous carrot shortages, because this place produce, I'm talking, articks roll in and out of this place on behalf of supermarkets every fucking few minutes, right? So they are a vast grower. So when they're giving them away in the supermarket, you've got to ask the question why. So bear that in mind. Exactly the same thing's happening with the potato trade. There is the situation at the minute where a friend of mine messaged me a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, I know you're responsible for putting all them banners out on the A14, which is near where I live. And he says, I said, why is that? He said, they got your name written all over them. And this was for No Farmers, No Food campaign banners. I hadn't even been involved. I might have got the banners for other people, but I didn't put them out, right? So, and he said to me, because he's a potato farmer and an onion farmer, and he said, at this point, we've only set 16% of the seed, what we would normally have in the ground, by this point, 100%. They've only set 16%. They just can't get on the ground. So potatoes and onions are going to have the same problem. So this says to me that one of two things is happening, right? They're deliberately trying to clear the potatoes they've lifted because they're so wet, they know they're going to go off. So they're trying to clear them. Or they're getting ready to cause a food shortage. Because if there isn't going to be any in the system for the next months, because they haven't been lifted out of the ground, and farmers are just saying, leave them out of rock, because we can't lift them no matter what we do. We know that food's going to be short. So why the fucking hell would you give away all the potatoes, onions, and carrots cheap? You wouldn't. You'd sit them in cold store and get the last penny out of them. It makes no sense.
Mark, it makes sense if you look at the world differently and see it from the eyes of the people that potentially might be pulling the strings. So it makes perfect sense. Mate, I think you're perhaps potentially on the same page as me, but I'm convinced. I mean, you work outdoors, I work outdoors, mate. Since September last year, I've never known it be so wet, mate.
So
Never known.
Can I just ask a question there, Chris the Gardener? Would you say there is any chance at all that someone is playing with the weather?
That's exactly what I was going to say to you, mate. I think that our weather, especially in the last 6 months, has been heavily manipulated, because on the days when it doesn't rain, they are chemtrailing the F out of the skies, mate.
Yeah.
There's so much of that going. And I mean, bearing in mind as well, we live in rural areas. You know, Norfolk, I don't know about Suffolk, Norfolk, they say big skies, don't they, Norfolk? You can see a lot of the sky. And mate, I've never known it. So it's been miserable for me, mate, since the beginning of October. Going out and doing my job, it's misery, mate.
I mean, Chris, you're not a million miles from me if you're up in Norfolk, so I'm obviously in Suffolk. I don't know how you found it, but I live quite close to Lakenheath, Mildenhall, to some seriously big air bases from a point of military wise. Okay.
Well, I've got Marham 15 miles.
So you've got Marham, okay. Now, we had aeroplanes come over here all of our lives. Okay. We've always had, but they always 100% took the same flight path.
Right.
And the flight paths always went from south to north.
Yeah.
Now they crisscross the sky and make pretty patterns all over the place.
Right.
And where the jet fuel being burnt off, or the water being burnt off, whatever it was, what used to give them that pretty little tail about, you know, 3 or 4 inches long in the sky.
10, 15 seconds.
No. So I can only assume from my experience of life that today the pilots were on holiday, because the skies have been as clear as crystal round
here, mate. The same. Nothing today, mate. Not a single chemtrail today.
So I don't know if they've run out of chemicals, or if all the pilots needed the day off because they all had, and maybe they needed to go to doctors.
Yeah.
So
and just quickly, Mark. Sorry, mate. Just to quickly interject, because again, this I think is relevant to things today. So you live near Lakenheath and Mildenhall. I live near RAF Marham, and also where I live, just across the wash, is the gun range at Holbeach. And when the wind's in the right direction, mate, you can hear that all evening sometimes. Now, again, I've grown up with military planes flying over me. Where the village I grew up in was on the landing flight path into Marham, so you see it all the time. And round here, they fly around here a lot. We get all sorts. We get the Ospreys, we get the Tongas, we get the Eurofighters, the Raptors. We get them all going over here, mate. The last 4 or 5 months, there's been a hell of a lot more than in the 6 years that I've nearly lived in this house.
Absolutely.
And that gun range, mate, some nights they're hammering it out of that all day and all night. And
you have to ask what they're firing into the sky from there at the minute.
And what are they? They're gearing up for something, aren't they?
I think so, yeah. Well, Eric Von Doodle, I think we just need to make sure that you're not bored over there while we chat away to ourselves. I do apologise.
That's all right. What I was going to say, have you ever noticed it starts off crystal clear, blue sky, first thing in the morning. Lunchtime, along come the cloud, psst, down it comes. And this happened today. And I'm bloody angry because they said, it might have a shower. Well, I put my washing out because I've got an organic dryer. It's called rotary clothesline. So put my washing outside.
Sweet.
Few lovely little clouds, blue sky, lovely jubbly. Came in, went to the loo, had a phone call. What's that? 5 minutes. Looked outside. Excuse my language. Pissing down with rain.
And you have
where the clouds come from so quickly? Because when I looked out, there's a few little black clouds in the distance, but very high, and it sort of bubbled up quickly. And I've noticed it's been like this for the last 4 or 5 days. Beautiful sky in the morning, clear blue sky, rain in the afternoon.
That happens a lot, doesn't it, these days?
Absolutely.
You know, and again, if you're someone who spends any amount of time outside, you notice things like that, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, you spend a lot of time looking up at the sky when your job kind of depends on what the weather's going to do. Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
Yeah, and also, you get the what was it? Oh, bloody hell, he's off. What I was going to say, Mark, is
That's the dog ringing. He wants to come in.
That's right.
Shit.
But no, he's very clever, Christopher Gardner. He took off a dog earlier, barking, and now he's taken off a mobile phone.
Yeah.
You didn't see his lips move. Bloody brilliant. But what I was going to say is that what is it that, I mean, I've noticed that when you get the spuds, they've got eyes. They've actually got little shoots starting. So
that's a good thing. Don't knock it. That's a good thing.
I'm not.
That
I'm
means
not
they haven't been chemically sprayed.
Well, that's a good thing. But the thing that gets me, I'm going to actually buy some more tomorrow, hopefully. But because I'm a greedy little sod. But what I was going to say is, what is the worst vegetable for spray? What is the one that is sprayed to buggery?
I would say cereal crops, to be honest. I'm actually doing a talk this week on glyphosates, and the minute you understand how they came about, and Chris will probably knows from a gardener point of view, but so effectively back in 40, 50 years ago, this beautiful company that are well known for producing things like Agent Orange, for instance, before they changed their name to Monsanto. Yes. They came up with a very, very clever design. So what they did was they came up with they changed the DNA of the plants.
Allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly. Well, yes. It's pretty well known.
This is out in the open, mate. This is.
I think it is now. I think it's.
I'm just trying to set the claxons off at YouTube HQ. That's all. You know.
Even Wikipedia say it's true. So they allegedly changed the DNA of the plants. So when they put the weed killer on it, it didn't kill the plant. It only killed the other plants. So it would leave the wheat and barley alone, but it would kill the weeds around it. So that made them a very, very powerful tool, because at that point they could sell a weed killer that would not kill their seed or their crops. So it literally meant they had absolute control over the farmers. And they've just gradually genetically modified all of these crops along the way. So wheat and barley are sprayed a lot. We're just in the process. We're just to give you an idea of what the other options are. I mean, we're just in the option of in the position of taking on a new 16-acre farm or a new 16-acre field. And I said to my uncle, "What are the options?" Because obviously I want to be glyphosate free. And he said, "That's a bit more difficult, because if you want to grow barley on there this year, you're going to need to do something." So what he's come up with is the fact that we're going to set grass seed and barley at the same time. So the barley comes up first, gets ahead of the grass. The grass then comes up and lays a map on the ground like a carpet that stops the weeds coming through. And then you don't have to spray the barley, because you're not trying to spray the weeds off.
I like that, Mark.
This is about
a really good solution, mate.
So this is kind of the reverse to a cover crop. Do you know what I mean? Because in the winter you put cover crops on to put nitrogen back in the ground, let the animals graze it off. But this is brilliant, because so we get the first cut will be the barley, get the straw off, then let the grass grow a bit more, and we can get the haylage off of that. So this is getting two crops out of one field, and it stops the weeds coming through. We don't have to put any nasty shit on it, and we can be in the position that grass will be there for next year to then just plough in, and it's a natural nitrogen feeding the ground. So we've achieved three things with one crop, and that is where we need to be looking. And this is where I think I wouldn't have thought of that. Ray, who's got the farm, when I talk to him about things, his knowledge and experience is freaking superb. He's just a little bit older than me, and that knowledge he's got, which has been passed down through the family generation to generation, they can twist and adapt. Now, this is what frustrates me when I see people talking about the farming side of things from a commercial farming point of view, because I'm a horticulturalist more than an agriculturalist. So for me, I don't like the big farms. I like, I think if people have got 100 acres down, that's the absolute maximum you want. And probably, to be realistic, 10 acres is more than enough for someone to farm if they do it properly. Because here's the problem, and Chris, you'll understand this. I know you absolutely will as a gardener, right? If you take traditional farming, the first thing we do is chuck loads of nitrogen on the ground, because the ground has been raped of anything any good what was in it once upon a time. So if they do not put nitrogen on of some description, whether that's chemical based or, you know, petroleum based, or whether that's a natural fertilizer like animal manure, for instance, you've got to put something on that ground constantly to feed that produce you're trying to grow. Now, if you've got really, really good soil that you've built up over the course of years upon years upon years, like people do with allotments, every year, double dig it, put manure in, double dig it, put manure in. That ground is rich, it's fertile, it's vibrant. Everything, you put a seed in, the minute the seed hits the ground, it's going, woo, let's get on with the party. You know, unlike when they're drilling fields, they take months to come up because there's nothing in the ground to feed them until it's gradually took time to come up. Maybe get some fertilizer on it, water on it. It won't grow because the ground isn't rich enough. I've just experienced this funniness on the farm because Ray set aside an area for me, which was a small area. So and it's heavy clay where they farm. Okay.
Right.
So for them rather, they're used to ploughing it in the winter, leaving the wind and the rain to break it down. And then they'll just cultivate that in the spring and end up with a nice tilth bed that they can then set grain in. Okay. So that's lovely. Then the ground goes in rock hard and you can't do anything with it. So for me, that's no good how I want to farm. So what I've done is I've covered it 6 inches deep in coir compost, what I was given by a local nursery, and ended up with a slight challenge because it rained so much over the winter. The water sat on top of the clay. The coir held it in, and the coir was all doing this all winter, floating around. We couldn't get on there to do anything with it, so it's finally dried up. We finally got a rotator on there and cultivated it in, and now we've got this beautiful soft tilth. It's got loads of natural fertilizer in it, and that's going to work wonders in the future. And this is what people need to feed the ground. I don't know from yours. Go on, sorry.
The answer lies in the soil. That's what they used to say. That's what my granddad used to say. The answer lies in the soil.
The problem
We've got really good soil around here. I mean, it's a lot of the land around here. So, you know, I live right on the edge of the fens, Mark. Right.
So you're in a really nice area.
So
it's
the village
black,
I live in,
the soil. It's almost black, the soil, isn't it?
Yeah. Half the village I live in is fenland, mate. The other half isn't. We are literally on the edge. And where because my great granddad farmed, and he farmed. I don't know how familiar you are. Do you know Downham Market?
Yeah.
So there's a little village just outside of Downham called Crimplesham. And my granddad farmed in Crimp.
Right.
His family did for generations. He was the last one. His wife died of cancer in 1966, and in her will she stipulated that the farm was to be sold and he was to have the money to live on for the rest of his life. She didn't want him working himself to an early grave, and he lived to 105, mate. And I've got a picture of him in my living room because he had a tractor, but he never used it. He used to plough with his 2 shy horses, Prince and Beauty.
Wow.
And I've got a picture of him on the 2 shy horses outside Crimplesham Church. And you'd look at the picture and you'd think he was a small man, but he wasn't, mate. He was a beast. But the shy horses were so freaking
huge,
big.
weren't they?
Massive, mate. Unbelievable. Like almost the size of a house, these horses. They are huge.
They're very placid.
Sorry?
They're very placid.
Oh, mate, he loved them like they were his children. He absolutely adored them. And I mean, he did it all. He did arable, and he had pigs, he had sheep, he had cows, he had chickens. When he milked the cows in the morning, they were in a field at the back of the house that he lived in till he died. And he'd open the gate, and he'd open up the milking shed first, and he'd open the gate up to the field, and he'd stand at the bottom of the field, 5 o'clock in the morning, and just go, "Come on then." And that was it. They'd all trot down.
They'd line up.
Yep, line up, walk into the milking sheds. He'd milk them, and then he'd just send them back into the field, close the gate. But yeah, you'd have liked him, Mark. He died in 2008, mate, but he was 105. Wow. And he used to regale stories of the farm to me. I grew up listening to all that stuff, mate, and just spending time out with him because he still retained a huge garden and he used to grow everything, mate. Yeah. People used to come from like 30 miles away to try and get asparagus from him. And he said to me, he said, if they knew how I grew it so good, they wouldn't want it. He used to shit in a bucket, mate. And that's what used to go on the asparagus.
Absolutely.
That's what my uncle used to do. Put straw down. Something they used to, was it? They used to pour the bucket because they didn't have a toilet. They had the toilet was the bucket.
Yeah.
And they'd empty it down a pit and then put straw on top, then
Yeah.
empty more shit and then more straw, and that's what they
Compost.
actually did.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, directed both of you, and that is, I have porridge oats in the mornings, and because I'm a tight-fisted git, I don't buy the well-known names. I buy the cheapo crap from the supermarket, you see, and that is supposed to be heavily sprayed. I mean, is it one of the worst oats to have, or?
I don't know that it's any worse than any other grain. You know,
I was going to say cereals aren't a good thing in the morning, mate. They're not a food that's going to. You're better off having an egg, mate.
Yeah.
Or something with some jam on something is probably better than cereals, mate.
Cereal won't give you no goodness.
There's nothing in it.
Get a good fry up inside you, man.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Egg, bacon, fried tomato, mushroom, proper fried bread, all loads of butter. Oh,
absolutely. Lard, and do it in lard as well.
Yes,
cook it in
lard.
or butter. Don't use seed oils.
No,
I stopped using them years ago. Now we have lard. I'll fry in lard. I'd much rather use that, and it's cheap as chips lard as well.
Yeah, we've got no use for it anymore because everyone thinks it's bad for them, don't they?
Thinks it's bad for you, mate. Yeah. So I'm like,
well, look at the French. They have a very, very high. They have lard. They have everything that you consider is bad for you, but they're one of the healthiest nations on earth. Their food.
And interestingly, Chris, a lot of them smoke.
Yeah,
a lot of them smoke in France. I'm not advocating smoking, but you know I'm a smoker, mate, and I don't think it's. I may live to regret saying this, but I don't think it's as bad as what they'd have us believe, especially what I use, which is tobacco. I don't have pre-rolled cigarettes. I buy a pouch of tobacco, unbleached papers, and I roll my own, mate. And I don't even put a filter in. I just roll a little bit of cardboard up, and that's my roach.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know if you heard the stats during the pandemic that they were advising people that if you smoked, you had less chance of being ill from certain things because of the nicotine. Now, I mean, from my side, I'm 56. I've never tried a cigarette.
Don't, Mark.
I've never tried one. When we were kids at the school gate, I always used to remember all my mates handed them round, and I always used to take them and put them in a box. And then by the time it came to Thursday, when no one had got any money left,
sell them.
I used to sell them back to them on IOUs.
Nice.
That's perfect. That is funny. It's never really bothered me smoking. I've never smoked. I come from a non-smoking family.
Home. So
what did you break it?
13. No. I definitely.
I'm only joking.
It. We won't go into that one. But no, I was from the age of 13. My mum, she recognised that she weren't going to control me. That was it. I've been a complete, absolute anarchist since I was 13 years. I mean, we moved into a bungalow, so my bedroom was on the ground floor. How'd you keep a kid in when you've got a ground floor bedroom? Like, you ain't going to do it, are you? If that
I was on the first floor, that didn't stop me either.
Exactly that, mate. If I'd have been on the first floor, I'd have found a way. But that just made it much easier. And, you know, I'd wait for my mum and my stepdad to go to bed, and then I'd be out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning some nights with my mates, getting up to all kinds of bother. But, yeah, it's do you know what? It's something I regret. I wish I'd never started it. And I'm at the point.
What, going out the window or the smoking?
They're both, mate. The smoking, obviously. It's a
I've got a funny story.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to cut across there, but I've got a funny story which actually did happen. What was that super detective they had on? I mean, it was long before I was born, decades before I was born. There was a detective with Snowy, his dog, that was on the radio.
Tintin.
Was it Tintin? No, it was on the radio. It was something detective. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I had 3 uncles, they're all gone now, and there was a younger one, and he was laying in bed. It was a clear moonlit night, and he was listening. He listened on the radio to this detective, someone in Chatterbury, to tell me. It was in it must have been in the 40s, 1940s, 50s. Anyway, he's laying in bed, you see, and he'd heard about this thing that climbed up drain pipes and murdered people, you see, and he had a very active imagination. So he's laying in bed at night, it's this moonlit night, and suddenly he sees this shadow of something going up the drain pipe. That screams blue murder. It was my uncle, the other uncle, that arrived home a bit, excuse my language, pissed. He forgot his front door key, didn't want to wake everybody up, so he shimmied up the drain pipe. And
I couldn't do that if I was sober.
He actually, I think he went into shock. He was so terrified because he'd just been listening to this thing on the radio. But it was
Brutal.
something super detective. Anyway, somebody chat, I know what it is. But did you know that House of Commons, they bought up loads of, they know about the food shortages, and a lot of them are growing their own food. And apparently, so I've heard on the grapevine, there was 2 female MPs, and one said to the other one, excuse me, how's your gardener getting on? What's dead? She said, oh, it's marvellous. She said, you know, he's growing carrots that long and that round, really, yes. And he's got onions huge, about that much. Incredible. And there's a 3rd female MP at the other end of the bar. And she said, I'm a bit deaf, girls, but I think I know the MP you're talking about. Sorry, anyway. That's a crap one, isn't it?
Not your worst, mate. It's not your worst. I stuck some carrots in today.
Did you?
Today, sorry, yesterday. Yeah, I got some. Had some that we got to about sort of, I don't know, a couple of inches. So I thought, sod it, I'm going to stick them out. So I put about, they'll be my first carrots. I put about 40, 50 out, and I've put some peas out as well this weekend. So yeah, it's begun.
Someone asked me a question the other day, and when I gave the answer, they looked somewhat shocked about this situation. But I date a Nigerian girl. So culturally, we're very different. And it's fair to say that I've never been to Africa. Okay, that's my bad on the world. However, I've always been led to believe that Africa, and I'm sure you guys will agree that perceptionally we've been misled to believe this, that it's a very barren place, that there is not a lot of food produced out there. They're always, you know, short for food and things like this, which is why we had Band-Aid and Live Aid and all these other things what stole money from our pockets. And she says to me, are you having a laugh? No, well, she didn't say it quite like that, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
She says, you having a laugh? She says, we double crop on our farms in a year because it's very much like the fen soil. It's so rich and so fertile, and their weather's so good that they double crop. And she said, we export loads and loads and loads of food. She said, we don't know what to do with it. So much food produced. I'm like, hang on a minute. I think I've been lied to here somewhere. So I start questioning the things, right? And one of the things what comes out is about a particular farm which sits on the Nigerian border with, I forget what other country, but it's 25,000 acres, this farm. It's owned by a said supermarket with a, you know, a pretty logo, every little hurts. And it's owned by them, and they produce vast amounts of food out there, which gets shipped back to the UK. Right? So when people say, well, what are we going to do when all the farmers don't farm anymore? Them bastards have got a plan. You better understand that. Them bastards have got a plan to feed themselves, even if we ain't going to get any. But
of course.
I know that I ain't taking part in their nonsense. And like you said, Chris, you got to come up with your own agenda. You got to know where you're going yourself. For me, I ain't eating bugs. I definitely ain't eating any synthetic factory-made meat. I can stick that right up there, Jaxie. Right? There's no way I'm having none of that. I know exactly what I'm going to be having. I'm going to be having the bloody animals I produce and the vegetables I grow, and I should be doing that for other people I love as well. And if they don't like it, they better come and we'll find me where I am.
Us three will meet up in the camps when the time comes, when they really do decide that, because if we don't stop it, that's where it's going, mate. The agenda is, while there's all this bitching and infighting amongst themselves, and can I bring up something? I don't know whether either of you two were going to, but this bridge collapse in Baltimore, I want to say something on it. Stop fucking worrying about it. Honestly, it's a distract. If the mainstream media have been talking about it for 2 freaking days and nothing else, you shouldn't be paying it any attention at all. End of. Who cares what it is? Go out and grow some seeds instead of looking at that. Honestly, it's doing my head in, mate. I've heard so much. Oh, it's definitely this. Oh, no, it was this. Sorry, Chris. Fuck off. Honestly, like, it isn't important. And the fact that you've got people in I'm sorry, I'm rattled now, and for obvious reasons, my fuse is quite short at the moment. But this has really, really wound me up the last 10, however long it's been going on for. Like, I've been trying to ignore it, but you can't. Everybody's got an opinion on it, you know, and everybody knows what happened. And
yeah, but opinions are like arseholes.
Everyone's got one, Mark. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and a lot of shit comes out of it as well. That's what
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And the
I
fact
couldn't
that
give a shit
fighting,
about it, to be honest with you.
I couldn't, mate. But the fact that it's got people fighting amongst themselves, and
that's what it's designed for.
Whether it was something or not, it doesn't matter. 2 days on the mainstream media tells you everything you need to know. That it's something that they want you to look at, which means you should give it no attention at all.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. I came home the other night, and my mum, who's 77, who's had lots of them because she thought it was the right thing to do, said to me, "Have you seen it?" I said, "What have I seen, Mum?" She said, "That thing I showed you last night on that you know, YouTubey thing." So I said, "What, that bridge?" She went, "Yeah." She said, "Have you slowed the film footage down and looked at that and see the explosions before that hits the bridge?" I said, "Mum, what are you trying to say?" I said, "Mum, you of everybody I know, is the least conspiracy theorist person I believe." What it does go to show, and I say this out loud, right? I think every time they overplay their hand, it wakes a few more people up.
It does.
And if you've got someone like my mum questioning it, who, when I said about 9/11, she said to me, "Darling, you are funny." She said, "As if they do that." Oh, yeah, I know, as if.
As if, Mark.
But now you've got people questioning it, and that's good.
It is.
But when you have when you have something about the royals, anything about the royals, it's a diversion. It's a misdirection.
Yeah,
they're the pantomime. Sorry?
They've all gone, haven't they?
There's still a couple
almost
left,
I think they have, because they don't look like the real ones, do they? They're all sort of, you know. But before we go any further, Mark, what's your you've got a YouTube site, so please everybody subscribe to. Do you know what your YouTube site is?
I do now. Listen, I've got to thank a mate of mine called Pete, because I am an idiot when it comes to technology, so I can't do it. So I get the camera out and film it, and I send it to my mate who puts it on the YouTube channel. It's called The Bowler Hat Farmer.
Hang on. So it's called YouTube.
Emphasis, The Bowler Hat
all
Farmer.
All one word, isn't it, Mark?
I think it is, yes.
Yeah, it's all one word.
Yeah. So I've been lucky that my friend Pete, I send it to him, he puts the banners on and tags it, and I think we've been doing it now for about, I think it's about 6 weeks, and we've got about 670 people on there now, which is awesome. Well, I think it is. Look at that.
It is awesome, mate. It is awesome.
I don't know a lot about this social media. I know we've got lots of people following on that face thing.
Facebook.
Whatever it's called.
FBI book.
Also about Facebook.
Yeah. But we got one on there called the Arc Project.
That's it. That's how I contacted you.
And that's on that FaceAche thing. And that's got about 11,000 followers now.
That's good as well.
That says to me that either I'm talking bollocks and people like me talking bollocks, or I'm talking sense and they like to hear sense. I don't know which it is. Probably.
Mate, you hit the proverbial on the head a few minutes ago when you said about how with this bridge thing, people's perceptions are changing and people are questioning things. And you're right, that is good. My take on that, Mark, is I hate the phrase, Chris knows this, everyone listening knows this. I don't like the phrase woke up. It implies that we're in some way better than people who live how I did 15 years ago. If this had all happened 20 years ago, I'd have probably rolled my sleeve up as well. And I started seeing the world. I've always been a bit weird and a bit different and a bit odd, but I started really looking at things when I found the internet in about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
and it kind of snowballed. You know, it started off just looking at the odd thing, and 9/11 I think was one of the catalysts. I think definitely with that, and learning about building 7 and everything that goes with that, and nanothermite, and then, you know, but again, what I saw there was a lot of infighting in that. But anyway, my point was that for the first 5, 6, 7 years that I woke up, if you want to use that phrase, all I did was sit on my arse and look at videos online, mate. Nothing changed within me. And this is my concern, is yes, there are a lot of people looking at things differently now, but is it going to be the same sort of journey that I had, that a lot of people have, where for the first, like I say, the first 4 or 5 years, you're fascinated, you want to know, so you just start reading books, you know, and yeah, rabbit holes, but you don't change yourself at all in that time. I don't feel like you really progress. Saul's going down.
It's interesting you say that, Chris, because for me, I think I was probably in that situation. I've known about the 2030 agenda since I was 22.
And how old are you, Mark? Well, just roughly.
I'm 56.
Right.
So for me, I've known about it a long time. And a friend of mine who was so awake, I thought he was barking fecking mad. Genuinely. He used to come in and talk to me, and I'd go, he used to leave, and I used to go, fucking hell, what planet is he on?
Yeah.
And he used to come around and leave me little bits of paper with website addresses on. This was before people had the internet at home. You know, we used to have to go to a library and look things up. And I remember him saying to me, listen, 2030 agenda, you won't be able to have any food. Start stockpiling food. And I thought, fucking hell, mate, it's about 2019. No, 1990. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, he's a bit ahead of the game. And he said to me, and he was right on everything he said. He said to me, start getting sea salt stocks, because they will definitely want to take away your vitamins and minerals. And you've seen it in all of the food supply chain is doing this. Yeah.
Where is it?
Look at that. Beautiful.
Mate, everything. That's how, if you can keep it indefinitely, I've got shitloads of it.
Keep it. I'm the same.
Oh, mate, tins as well.
Never goes off.
Yeah. I've got
and also
food coming out my ears, mate. I don't want to
We're going to do a survival show as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to call.
No, you're all right, Chris.
No,
we're
going to do a show. You can, talk when you want.
Shoot,
everybody said their say, you know, but I was going to say that we're going to bring back, because it's very popular, the survival show.
Hanging?
Yeah. And hanging as well, yes. We're going to do lynching, but with a bungee rope over a sewer.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Boing, boing. And you sort of, you know, you bet how many times they bounce.
I think just put them in the stocks for a week. Honestly, don't cause them any permanent physical harm. Put them in the stocks. Let people crap in their hands and throw crap at them for a week.
Good idea.
And then ship them off, like you say about crocodiles and sharks, Chris. They've got a right to be here, but we don't want to live amongst them. And that's
precisely
what. Don't harm a hair on their body, though, because as soon as you do that, you become the thing that you hate.
It worked in Russia. They had Siberia purposely built for that. They just ship them all there. I think if we had a word with Putin, he'd let us send as many as we want.
Well, that's what they did with the Russian gangsters, didn't they, in the early 90s when they opened up the gulags? They just exported them all to New York, didn't they? Quite seriously. Stuck them on a boat and sent them over to America. Genius.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
I agree with you, Chris.
Here's a bag of cash. Take it with you. Get on with a new job.
Go. Yeah.
Go cause carnage. Send some money home.
Which they did.
I'm passionately against capital punishment. I agree with you, Chris. I mean, I joke about it, but I'm passionately against it. And I think that's a good idea. Just ship them off to some island somewhere, you know, let them live their life out, and that's it.
Exactly that. And let them. And then if they want to cause harm, they can do it amongst themselves. You know.
Yeah. Drop all the ammunition they want. They can blow each other to smithereens, can't they?
Oh, mate, yeah, that's another. I mean, like that again. What a ridiculous thing to have channeled so much of our time and energy into weapons. You know, like we've spent billions and of time and man hours and money in working out the most efficient ways to kill each other.
Chris, you know why? Because it's all about the feckin' spondulics.
Yeah.
It's the same as the food supply chain. It's about how can you get more profit out of it. Cause more carnage, you sell more bombs.
Yeah.
Cause more food shortages, more famines, you sell more food.
And then you can build it all up again and then destroy it again, can't you?
That's right.
You see, I grew up. I mean, I was born in 75, Mark. So I'm coming up to 50. My wife's 5 years older than me, so she's a bit nearer your age than me. So, which we quite like. Often it's quite funny. She'll say to me, "Do you remember such and such?" And I go, 5 years younger than you, sweetheart. No, I don't. But my point is, mate, the era I grew up in, the Second World War, was still very much fresh in the memory of my grandparents and even my parents who grew up in the shadow of it. So I grew up obsessed with the Second World War. And when my parents divorced when I was 12, my mum remarried, and we ended up with a chap who was 25 years older than my mum. So he lived through the Second World War. He was a schoolboy in London during the Blitz. So he had some tales, mate. And he actually lived a little bit out of London. They were more Epping Forest. But one of the first V2s landed in the woods behind his house, blew out all the windows and things like that. So I grew up with the sole intention from the age of about 9-10 years old that all I was going to do was join the army. Now, luckily for me, and I never saw it like this until years later, I developed epilepsy when I was 12, and I had a series of grand mal seizures, what they used to call grand mal. And in them days, mate, the army wouldn't touch you. None of the forces would. If you'd had an epileptic seizure, that was it, mate. You were no good to them at all. And I was devastated, mate. I applied for the army 3 times, the RAF twice, and even went as far as applying to the Navy. But they all turned me down flat because of honestly, mate, the more I think about it now, I'm a belligerent git, mate. I would have struggled in the army. I would have really struggled.
Same here.
And the army would have struggled with me as well, mate. So, you know, all things for a reason, and it worked out great in the end. But I can't imagine what it would take now for me to pick up a gun on the orders of someone else and kill someone I'd never met, who I've got no quarrel with.
Nah.
It is just the most senseless thing that I can think of.
But it's all about programming, isn't it? Because
Of course it is.
you know, if you I've got an ex-brother-in-law who is ex-tank command. He has retired, now works for the British government inside Belgium, selling arms to countries that maybe we shouldn't be selling arms to, but because the British government aren't doing it because it's dealt with by a company in Belgium.
Yeah.
And he goes all around the world putting these tanks and armored vehicles and things together and putting the weaponry on them and so forth when they're delivered. And his mindset towards that, I couldn't do it because I'd be thinking, well, you load that cannon up, you know, someone's going to fucking die at the end of it.
You're taking part in a process which the sole intention is to kill people and make money. We'll make money. That's
it's just, I don't get it, you know. So for me, I'm probably like yourself. I was right when I was young, you know, parents coming through the war and grandparents, all the stories of uncles, what went off the war and things. And you think to yourself, wow, you know, some of them came home as well, you know.
Well, this is where I find Chris very interesting as well, because his dad fought in the Second World War. He fought through some of the worst bits of it with Malta and on D-Day. And yet Chris was brought up with the complete antithesis of basically your dad told you from day one what war really was, didn't he?
Well, that's
and
right.
He never tried to glorify it or
no.
And you saw that. Mental.
The censors, I think it's YouTube. So okay, boys, pull the plug. They'll put it back again. But no, actually, my dad had untreated, what they call it, shell shock, but they call it post-traumatic stress disorder. And so from a very young age, I was hearing things that I shouldn't have been hearing. And because he lived World War II every day of his life afterwards. I'm not blaming my dad.
No, of course not, mate.
Best friend,
that, mate.
And the thing is, so I grew up where kids were saying, oh, war and exciting. I knew what it was all about because I got it from him on a daily basis. That's why if you start me off talking about World War II, I'm just like an old diesel engine. I just go and go and go because it's been sort of
mate. It was
as long as I can remember. And I mean, he was actually in Siege of Malta and 3 invasions, first one in on all 3. But the thing was, he was a conscript, so he had no decision He had no, when I say decision, he had no option, because they said you can be exempt, but you could be a conscientious objector. No, because you had to have people in high places and you had to have lots of money, and you had to be a member of a pacifist group for years before the war to be a conscientious objector. So you couldn't be. And the other myth is that they said that you could have a choice of going in the Army, Navy or Air Force. That was a complete lie that the government put out.
Well, a lot of them went down the mines, Chris, didn't they? We had no
Bevan
choice
boys,
in that.
yes.
The Bevan
Bevan
boys.
boys.
So you could be called up and not even fight. You know,
that was near the end of the war. That was Morecambe and White. I think Jimmy Savile was a Bevan boy.
He was.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
something.
Yes,
he liked going down the mines, didn't he?
Yes. Yes, no, I won't say that crude joke, but anyway,
no, let's not.
Let's not. But what I was going to say,
empties ever.
Well, you're right, but the thing is that I knew from a young age that what we were being told was bullshit, because my dad couldn't stand the Hollywood films and the Hollywood version of World War II, because what he saw on the front line. I mean, we showed him Saving Private Ryan, got the video for him. We had to turn it off after 5 minutes, because not only was it making him ill because it brings it all back, but you're saying that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, because his landing craft was adjacent to where Saving Private Ryan film was set. And so when they came off the landing craft, the Americans went in a half hour earlier, and they were wading. They went into deep water first of all, because the landing craft grounded prematurely, because the Germans had built up banks and obstacles and things. And he said all you could feel was bits of body, torsos, heads, blood, everything. You just waded through, went through that. And I mean, he wrote a book about it. It took him 10 years, that thick it is. And if you go on to www.warveteran.co.uk, or you could go on to foghamhallradio.com, you'll see a link to it there. You can get it on Amazon now. It's available on Amazon. And also, what I was going to say, this brings me on to the next things. People have said that when they go onto my Fogham Hall website, a lot of the stuff isn't appearing where it should do. And I've looked into this, and I've had loads of people send to me on this. And they say, well, it's funny, I can go to foghamhallradio.com on the phone and everything appears. And it's to do with Google Chrome. Tonight I put foghamhallradio.com on Firefox, and it worked perfectly. It's something to do with Google Chrome. So
if they don't want the information out there, isn't it?
Yeah, why they do that to you, Chris?
They're censoring it. So
Chris,
that's it.
I'm gonna listen, mate. I hate to do this because we're on a good flow, but I am gonna kick you into the chat, mate. We've nearly been on an hour, mate. You said
bloody Nora, we have.
And
so
I know I don't wish to be like all kind of headmasterish, but I really think you should say hello to some people. Otherwise, I'm just thinking, mate. People who took the time.
I agree with you
to say hello. It would be.
So
nice.
we'll say right. Oh, well, we go. Actually, we've got tonight. Unfortunately, now Paul Green. Hi. I hope all looking all well.
Nice
looking forward to the show. Now he came on at 7:20, but Bob beats him because he was on at about 6:30 yesterday morning. That's keen. But he's disappeared. He's disappeared off chat. I don't know quite why.
Mate. They don't stay on there. If they come on early, they disappear before the show starts.
Got Aunt Sally. Hang on, that's Paul. That's Aunt Sally. We've got Cat Holly. Evening all. Hope everything is well. Happy Easter break. Happy New Year as well.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. We like that, don't we?
That's right. And remember, not the 5th of November, but you can still celebrate the Passing Wind event tomorrow. So there's no worry there. It's
all some baked beans and you'll be fine.
That's right. No, we're talking about the weather, the passing of, March winds. Ralph Winter. Hello, Ralph.
Evening, Ralph.
Evening. And Aunt Sally said something very nice for your missus.
Thank you, Sally,
Chris. That's very kind. Thanks, Aunt Sally. And I'm in the room.
Evening.
Oh,
Hatchie.
that's good. It's Hatchie
And
Hatchie.
Buds.
Well,
He's got Buds with him as well, Chris.
Buds, that's good.
Buds.
And who has the who has the patent and gets the payment? Who has the patent and gets the payment? Oh, what a wonderful world. Horse poo is the most natural fertilizer, full of nitrogen. Oops, wrong wording, naturally. Carefully taking the bio.
I love Hatchie.
Carefully taking the bio. Yes, yes, why not?
Do you know
Well,
what?
I remember.
Chris,
Yeah.
just sorry, very quickly on that. When I was a kid, we used to drive around with a shovel in the back of the car and a carrier bag. And if Mum saw some horse crap on the road, she'd pull over and I'd be expected to run out with the shovel and the bag and bag it up and we'd take it home, mate. It was never wasted.
Right.
Well, for years, we used to have a rag and bone man come round where I used to live with a horse drawn thing, you know, just like Steptoe and Son. And the horse used to always have a crap. I don't know what it was in the same place. And there was a woman who was a keen gardener. She was out there quicker than a jet propelled bloody greyhound.
Good for the roses.
Yeah,
but you have to leave it for a bit, don't you, Mark? You don't put it on the garden straight away.
No, it's got to be 18 months, 2 years old.
I was just about to say it needs to sit there for a year and a half at least, doesn't it? Before you put it on the garden. So.
Otherwise, it just burns stuff off.
Yeah.
Well, I've been looking at a compost toilet, and they say what comes out of the compost toilet has got to sit for a year. So I've got an idea. I'm going to chuck it over my neighbour's garden, so that can sit there for a year. So it's a good idea.
Still, Chris, take it to your local council. Put it through the.
Oh, brilliant idea! So hang on, this is the payment. You can grow rhubarb for it, you know. But
thanks, Hatchie.
Now, actually, you do it with was it cat litter, so it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell at all, and you just put it onto a compost heap. Anyway, Rabbit Stew 99.
Hello, Rabbit Stew.
Hello. You can give up smoking. I did. Extremely hard. I found the lozenges work for me. Well, are you the type of person that would suck a fisherman's friend? Lozenger. Sorry.
I have very little to do with the fishermen around here, Chris.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't have thought Chris was the type of person to suck a fisherman's friend. What do you think? I don't think he is, no.
I'm happily married, mate.
Yeah. Biggest thing is breaking the habit, knowing when you would smoke and stopping it, like after a meal.
You're right, Rabbit Stew. It is, and the trouble is, mate, I have a very weak personality. I've got a very addictive personality. Chris knows about this. I mean, I think most of you lot do as well. But I've been addicted to drugs and drink and ended up homeless and all kinds of nonsense. And the thing is, with me, it'll happen when I'm ready. And I'm not ready yet. That's the trouble. But when I am, it'll happen. I managed to kick sugar. I used to have 2 sugars in my tea every day for the first 47 years of my life. And I managed to stop that. And I don't touch sugar in tea now. I don't touch hard drugs anymore. And I don't drink anymore. So I know that eventually, when the time is right, I'll get this. But thanks for the advice, Rabbit Stew. And you're right. It is a habit, and it's about breaking the habit. And at some point, I'll do it, I'm sure.
Well, apparently, Peter Mandelson's a secret smoker, because I did hear that he allegedly, so I heard he likes to go home with a couple of fags.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, Chris. Yeah,
cigarettes, of course. That, by the way, for those abroad, a fag is a cigarette.
Yes, it has a different meaning in the UK.
Has a different
although
meaning.
That's being eroded.
That's alleged.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we go.
Removed anyway.
Yeah, baggy plants 1 inch high.
Is that not
That's
1
brilliant.
foot?
Was it 1 foot? No, it's 1 inch.
No, it's an inch, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I think you can legally grow tobacco plants.
Apparently you can. Yeah. We had one in one of my customers' gardens this year. Just popped up from nowhere, and we were going to try and clone it, but the frost got it before we got to do anything with it. But I'd love to grow my own, mate. If I had a bigger garden, I would grow my own tobacco.
Well, Sean Hamer, hello.
Hello, Sean.
Hello, Sean.
Hello. And when I was a kid, this is serious. This is. We were so innocent that a mate of mine, he was into smoking in a big way, and he sort of. And I mean, the nearest thing to drugs I think he got was an aspirin. You know, I mean, he was sort of, yeah, man. And he said, "I'm on grass now." Yes, freshly mowed.
Doesn't smoke.
We thought the grass was what they mowed. No. That's how innocent we were. I never smoked, though, but he did, you know. I was a goody. Maureen Hiller, yes, me too, Rabbit. So you gave up smoking as well.
Hello,
Here we
Maureen.
go.
Evening,
Good
William.
evening, gents.
Right.
Life as we know it. And we
William,
go.
Chris. It's William.
Sorry?
That's William.
Hello, William. What? William of the Royals? Blimey, that's pretty good. Because you live up,
William,
you know, the road.
William, who is studying horticulture. Tell us in the chat, William. Is it horticulture or agriculture? He's up in Scotland doing a degree. I think it's horticulture. So he's doing a degree. Is William? Very interesting.
Right.
Put some
Been
good
there,
stuff.
seen it, done it.
Yeah, I bet you have, mate. Yeah, mate. I knew diddly squat until 2.5 years ago when I jacked in 10 years working in social care. Used to work with the adults with learning disabilities, but the ones that nobody else wanted to work with, Mark, like the real like spicy stuff, which I used to like. And it became to compulsory medicine time, and they every day for about 2 months going to work. Have you booked it? No. Are you going to? No. Head office have been on the phone. Fuck off. And I just couldn't take it. And in the end, before the deadline came, mate, I was going to get pushed anyway. So I just jumped, mate. And I was like, no, you can stick your job up your ass. I know. I'll be a gardener. I know something about. I knew nothing.
Happiest thing ever, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it was a great decision, but I knew nothing. I thought I knew a little bit. And then I got into it and I realised that but I was lucky. I had a couple of old customers that I picked up and they took me under their wings, mate. And I listened and paid attention. And within 6 months, mate, I'd learned enough to put myself.
You know a lot.
I think I'm reasonably good now, mate.
Within 6 months, you can have an ology.
You can have what,
That's
mate?
right.
An ology.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Mate, it's just listening to people, isn't it? And old people are the best people to listen to.
Yes.
My neighbours had an ology. I could hear her in the garden. I think she's got asthma. I could hear her. I think he was a doctor. Went in. I could hear her going, oh, like this. So she must have been having an ology or something. I don't know. Something. Again, I'm very
probably
innocent.
The window cleaner, Chris. She was just
that's it. Yes, he gave her an ology.
In a different method, maybe.
Yes, he's he's given her lessons. You see, so there we go.
Yeah. And
she had an asthma attack whilst he's giving her an ology. So there we go.
Shall we go back to chat, mate?
There we go. Repugnant is the creature. This is Herodotus get fucked. Is a creature who forged a club to beat his brother down. There we go.
That sounds quite biblical, Herodotus. I'm not sure what you're talking about there.
And talk about frustration, history, and flatulence. John Hamer speaks some truth. Olympics.
Are you referring to the opening ceremony in 2012, Hatchy?
He said this year.
Oh, this year.
This year.
Where is it this year then? Because it was Japan, wasn't it, the last one?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen until 2021.
Lovely ceremony, though.
What, the Japanese one? Missed it.
I missed it,
it, mate.
Yeah. It was sort of like that, you know.
I can't believe
I think
that
you've got to be
racism from you there, Chris.
I know, because I think you've got to be suffering from constipation and chillblains to speak Japanese. Because it's all,
mate, you can't. This is the world we live in, though, now, isn't it? You can't even do an accent without somebody. No. I learned the other day, and I didn't know this. You can't call a Chinese takeaway a chinky anymore. That's not acceptable.
Really?
Apparently
we won't say chinky.
Apparently not.
Oh,
you can't say chinky anymore.
Can't say abdab for an Indian meal. I mean, I worked with an Indian bloke. He used to call him an abdab meal. That's what he actually called him, an abdab meal.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, it's insane. Yeah. We've said this before, haven't we? What matters is your intent behind what you're saying, and you know, it's like we've said about that word, and I won't say it, but not because I'm self-censoring, just because there's no need to say it. But the derogatory term for black people that a lot of white people won't even say the word. But if you're using it in the context where you're telling a story and somebody said that word and you want to, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not racist. That's in context. That's not like I'm running down the road and saying that to every black person I see. Yeah. This is pathetic that we're scared to say.
It's interesting because for me, as a very white British person dating a very black Nigerian girl, I say girl, lady, right? I've really had to pull my head around this, and we've had to have several conversations about if I'm offensive. I'm not because I'm meaning to be offensive. It's just that
No, of course not.
It's built into me. I'm 56 and I've lived in Bury St Edmunds. Is a very white town. But I'll tell you something I did learn today, and talk about the arrogance of the British. So, new partner, she's Nigerian. She's gone through Nigerian schooling. They only learn in Nigerian schools English. They're taught to read, write, and speak in English. They are not allowed to talk in Nigerian.
Really?
Ever since British colony took over.
And that's still going, is it?
And that's still going on. How is that not? Feck it.
Yeah.
And but where I was like, that's fucking wrong, rah, rah, rah. She said to me, oh, hang on a minute. She said, I see this from the other side. She said, and for me, wanting to come to Britain, I'm really pleased that I was forced to learn British because it's the worldwide language.
Well, that's what they
and
say.
I was like, hang on a minute.
Yeah. But, mate, I honestly believe that this agenda goes back thousands and thousands of years, and language was part of the division.
Yeah.
That was part of the game, was get us all speaking in different dialects and languages. Because this is my other thing. A language doesn't just come from nowhere. It doesn't. It's not an organic thing.
They're too complicated.
Of course, mate. It would, you know, there's no way that the languages that we speak are organic. They got rid of all the organic languages 1,000, 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were wiped out. Like potentially there are still some, like maybe Welsh that might be an organic language. I'm not sure. Celtic, you know.
And I think you've got it in certain parts of China where they all speak Mandarin, but they all speak their own dialects as well.
Yeah.
And
so
do you know
there is organic language? Sorry, Chris.
So I was going to say, did you know what country in the world speaks most English? And you'd be shocked at the answer. More than America.
India? Sorry,
China.
India?
More people in China speak English than any other area of the world.
Yeah, well, we ruled that as well, didn't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
we ruled that through opium.
Yeah.
The Opium Wars, mate, the two Opium Wars in the 1800s, what we did to the Chinese government. We destroyed their navy in an afternoon. We sent our first steel-clad battleship down there, and it was fighting sailing junks, wooden sailing junks, and just knocking them out of the water. Another classic bit of colonialism that nobody gets taught at school. But again, we say the British Empire. To me, it's just the cabal.
Absolutely.
There are no countries. People falling over Putin. He's just part of the game, the same as all of them are.
You've got to understand. I mean, we were having this conversation. Obviously, partner's been over this weekend. We've been having the conversation about history and about, from my side, what I was taught at school about, let's say, the slave trade. We used that as one of the conversations we used. And she said to me, but you do realise before the whites had the blacks enslaved, that blacks used to enslave whites, and that was where the slave trade started. It's just that the British spun it on its head and thought, hang on, we can earn money out of this.
And the first slaves to America, Mark and Chris, I think, Chris, you know this because we spoke about it before, but the first slaves that were sent to America were white Irish.
Wow.
Yeah. The Irish, and you don't hear them blatting. I'm sorry, Chris. You come in because that's 3 times now I've cut across you, mate.
No, that's okay. No, this is what, I'll let you, please
finish. But, we want to hear what you say as well, mate.
Well, the thing is, you take away the country, ordinary folk in the world generally are okay. When you think about it, ordinary folk in the world, for example, we look on Aborigines, Australian Aborigines, as being very primitive and running around and that. But what we don't realise is the Aborigines, when we sent prisoners over to Australia, and a lot of those prisoners, I was going to mention this. I mentioned this to Dawn last week. The ones that refused to have them, because it was compulsory until the 1890s in this country to have that against cowpox. And people don't realise that. And they had an opt-out scheme, which was finally abolished in 1948. And I've got you can actually look it up. Was it British Medical Association abolished it? Well, sorry, no, they didn't abolish it. They had a paper about it. So people don't realise that. And the early prisoners sent to Australia, the ones that refused to have it, and a lot of them escaped from the prisons there, or I don't think the early prisons, I don't think they had walls because it's just surrounded by jungle and that.
They just
And
chucked them over there, didn't they? And
right.
left a lot of them to
And
start
it's
with.
thanks to the Aborigines that they survived, because the Aborigines felt sorry for them, took them in, and that's why there's a lot of sort of half-caste Aborigines. Because a lot of them intermingled and they married and they just lived as Aborigines.
I think it's fair to say that as free white British people, we're very proud of our heritage. We're extremely proud of how our government has taken our Pledge of Allegiance to believe in their bollocks and go and trash the rest of the planet just so that we could have nice things in life. We're
absolutely.
very well. Thank you. I thank them on from my heart that they've taken that time.
As British people, then we're entitled to that, Mark. That's our right, is to go around and plunder the rest of the world and have the best of everything for ourselves while everybody else has sweet FA. That's, mate, it's flipping. It is reversing. You look at what the West is becoming, especially the States, Canada, and look at what's happening in the East. And the whole thing's turning on its head, mate. I think give it another 10 years and the West will be like what, you know.
I think we'll be third world. But I do think that's all part of the agenda. That's all part of the agenda, to tip it on its arse.
Yeah.
And you know why, don't you? Because bearing in mind that the people at the top at the moment are at the top no matter what. They ain't going to make no difference to them. But what they will do is in this reverse, they'll earn a fortune.
Of course they will.
And this goes back, if you go back to the Crusades, this is how far this shit goes back, if not further
than that, mate.
You know, if you go back to the Crusades when we were raping and pillaging the Middle East and the Far East, you know, you look at it and you sort of think to yourself, wow, we've been at this for a fucking at least 1,000 years. The British have been at this. And we are real good at it, mate.
My argument would be, and this isn't going to make me popular with some people in chat, and I apologise for anybody I offend in advance, but here's my caveat. The three main Abrahamic religions, I believe that they were engineered, set up entirely just to get the vast majority of the world's population fighting amongst themselves, mate.
I agree.
To me, look, I've got a relationship with God, mate. It doesn't involve reading the King James the Bible, and it doesn't involve me going into a big building and donating however much of what little money I've got to keep an establishment that has been proven over the decades, especially recently, to have some very nefarious links to some absolutely disgraceful people and institutional practices that we won't say what they are, but we all know what they are. They involve younger people. And that is what religion is to me. That's my perspective of religion, is that the most Christian people that I know that are some of the most awful in some cases. Not all, but some of them, they're everything that are removed from what a Christian can be. And that's, to me, religion is just something that's there to split us down the middle.
What I found interesting this weekend is my new partner. She's come across from Nigeria, Christian. She's very religious. Very religious. Yeah. And I find it entertaining. So for me, I deem myself as a Christian. I must be a Christian because I was brought up in a Christian society.
Yeah.
I went to a Christian school. We were taught in Bible classes and things. I used to go to Sunday school because that gave mum and dad some time on a Sunday without having kids.
Didn't you hate that, Mark? I used to hate Sunday school.
Oh, do you know what? I was blessed, and I genuinely mean this. We had a local family called the Golding family who ran and they were gospel preachers. So the stories weren't just like read out of the Bible. These were fucking magical.
Oh,
and I used to go and sit there.
Yeah,
you know, they made it. We were just so welcomed into the church. But so from my side, I kind of have this belief of, I was christened. I was married in a Christian church, so I must be Christian. Does that make me a Christian or a good person? I don't know. I know if I was walking down the street and someone needed my help, they'd get it. I know if I was walking down the street and saw someone hungry, I'd feed them. I know when my mates have had no money, if I've had it, they've had it.
Same here.
What does that make me? Does it make me a Christian or a good person? I know fucking plenty of Muslims that are good people. I know plenty of fucking
God,
Sikhs
yeah.
that are good people, or anything else. And this is what I've been, this weekend we've had this in-depth conversation about what is religion, and I have to go because I really want to pull her to bits on her belief, because I'm like, for me,
But you don't, do you?
the universe will provide.
Yeah.
Right? I believe that the universe will provide anything I need. I just need to ask for it. And
Absolutely.
I have a cousin who's a gospel preacher, and he says to me, "But we believe in the same thing. I call it God, you call it the universe, but we both believe in the same thing. We're both good people." He said, "You call it what you want, I'll call it what I want, and we don't even have to disagree on it." And that's how simple it should be.
Exactly that. And do you talk to the universe, Mark? Because I
All the
do
time,
on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and
every day.
I will speak to the universe and I will thank it for things. And I never ask for anything materialistic. I ask for the courage or the strength or whatever.
Good health.
Yeah. But what I don't ever ask for is anything for specific or anything materialistic.
No,
it's like, if I know I've got, like tomorrow, I will, when I get up, I will talk to the universe and I will ask for the strength to get through the day, and for the courage to face whatever's coming, and for like the best blessings for my wife tomorrow from the universe. Look
Absolutely.
after my wife. That's what I'll ask for tomorrow. If I'm struggling with anxiety, I'll ask for courage to face whatever it is. But yeah, I talk to the universe.
Have you ever read the books The Secret and the Magic?
Nope.
Oh well, man, mind blowing.
Right,
so,
mate, after the show we'll swap some contact details if you want, and then you can
absolutely
hit me up with things like that. Chris, I'm just going to have to take 2 minutes now. I'm going to go and have a quick Jimmy Riddle, and then we're going to relocate to another room so that Jess can get her ablutions and everything sorted out for tomorrow.
Right.
So
I'll be back in two,
and then we'll have a little guided tour up the stairs into the bedroom.
I've just,
mate,
whilst
you
you're
need
doing
to get
that,
back into chat. There's people
I'll get back in the chat, but I've got an ad first for my I forgot what it was, Telegram channel. Here it comes.
If you like keeping up to date with what's going on and enjoy the chat room, why not join the Fockham Hall Telegram group? I believe it's a lot better than Facebook because you can't really get bans that easily now. Another thing is that you can speak more freely and you can keep up to date with events. For example, if YouTube ever ban me, well, you're the first to know, because it'll not only be on the Telegram group, it'll also be on the website www.fockhamhallradio.com. Now, links to the Telegram group are below here. It's free of charge and you'll be most welcome. Thank you very much.
Here we go.
beautiful.
Now the thing is, what we've got here is we got Rabbit Stew says, I have Chris's dad's book sitting here on my long stack of books to read. Well, Big Kerry don't get shell shock from it, because you will learn about World War II from a completely different perspective if you read it, and you'll be quite shocked. That a lot of people are shocked at how the veterans were treated after the war as well. That's something that's been covered up, very, very much covered up. They were treated worse than a prisoner could be treated. Well, the worst, horrendous. But now we got here Haji, not Jimmy, a United. Oh yes, you're talking about now then. United Ninth Circle member, being the man from Uncle Keith Moon, played the part of wicked Uncle Ernie. Yes, I remember that in Tommy, wasn't it? Ken Russell's movie called Tommy. Yikes. That's right, I remember that film, yes. It's got...
I think the Who did the music for that, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a Who, yes. Cat Holly says, when I stopped smoking, well, who caught you a light? I just told myself about all the gains I would have. Like no counting them all the time to check if I had enough. Freeing yourself if the albatross was all it took. Well, why not? That's it.
I'm with you, Kat. I just have to slip in there though as well. It isn't just tobacco that I smoke. That's the problem.
Yes. Oh, you do that grass? You know,
G'day, gummies now.
Sorry, Mark.
You get that in gummies.
Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
can, mate. It's not the same. Sorry, Chris. What did you say?
Well, it's like we did at school, isn't it? You know, the freshly mowed grass. That was the
That's
stuff.
the
Wasn't
one.
it?
Yeah.
But I never smoked it.
Herbal
Anyway,
supplement.
now Rabbit Stew says, Chris, are you a Gemini?
Very perceptive, Rabbit Stew. Yes, I am.
I am, and I also have addictive personality. You're right. You have to be ready to do it. A lot of people substitute one addiction with another, which is one to watch out for.
Which is why I won't touch the vaping for two reasons. One, I'm not just, what's the point in just replacing one thing with another? And two, I think in another 10, 20 years' time, it's going to come out that they're even far more harmful than smoking.
I fucking agree.
Yeah. You're taking chemicals and liquid onto your lungs. How do you drown?
My
You get liquid on your lungs, don't
my
you?
uncle's girlfriend literally got rushed into the doctors last week, and they said if you don't give that up now, you'll be dead within 6 months.
Yeah, popcorn lung and things like that, mate. Read loads about
it's
it.
fucking bad shit. It's got a particular chemical in it which I'd never heard of, and she said to me, she said, now I've actually done the research on it. She said that is drowned. I literally am drowning.
Yeah, and there's nothing natural about that. Whereas tobacco is just a leaf that's dried out, you know, and I roll it in a piece of unbleached paper, and mix it with some lovely beneficial herbs that you can find in various places if you look for them, it just.
Well, that's the beauty of being a gardener, isn't it? It's horticultural, man. You've got to know what you're looking for.
Mate, I used to, and we can't say too much, obviously, but let's just say I used to have involvement in the production of beneficial herbs. Shall we leave it at that, Mark?
Yeah. Beneficial herbs, yes.
Yeah, and that was lovely. So
I grow mint.
obviously it was all done organically. And
You're talking about Rastafarian Old Holborn, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the one, mate. Right,
yes,
we're just
Rastafarian Old Holborn
here.
Yes.
Bear with.
Now we got here. What has he got? That's life, but not as we know. It says, Chris, you would be great at therapeutic horticulture. What's that when it's out? The market for that is going to be massive soon. Therapeutic horticulture.
You've not heard of that, Chris? That's a big thing.
Never heard of it.
So you would be looking
it's all to do with grow your own, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, basically you would be, what you do is you a lot of people with learning disabilities have it, mate. So they'll have somebody come to see them. Just bear with me again here. We just they will basically like William says, it's therapeutic horticulture. You are just literally gently doing some gardening with them and talking about maybe their concerns, and it's like therapy, but the therapy is the gardening.
Yeah,
that is the therapy, is getting their hands in the soil, and if they want to talk about their problems they can, but if they don't and they just want to do some gardening, then that is going to benefit them no end, as you both know. Mark, you know this, you come from a long line of farmers, mate. It's been in your, I would imagine it's in your blood. You know that by being outdoors and working the soil and growing things, you're going to live probably 10 years or longer, mate, than what you would have done if you worked in a factory. Well,
I've got to live at least till I'm 100, otherwise I'm not going to piss everybody off in time. But what I was going to say on that is our Farm the Art project, that is the whole purpose of it, for people to come there, get involved in growing, get involved in getting their hands dirty, being part of the community, part of the environment, part of nature, and really so they get a fucking grounding again, because this is the problem. I mean, everyone's like this all day, aren't they? You know, they're playing on computer games, they're talking on the internet, they're chatting on fucking Zoom calls, whatever. Yeah. Get yourself outside. Go and walk around the grass with no damn shoes on. Get yourself back to earth.
Yeah. And for anyone that hasn't got a garden, go and find an old person who's struggling with theirs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Befriend them. Go and help them. Grow some veg with them. Share it.
Yeah.
You know, like if we, this is what, because I've always been able to look after myself since I was a kid, mate. I was into camping, survival. I watched my grandparents grow food. I watched from the age of 4 or 5. I've been able to dress game. You know, I've watched my granddad.
I thought he said dress gay for a minute. Sorry, come on. Dress gay.
Do that as well if you want, mate. But yeah, we used to watch my granddad skin rabbits when I was 5 years old.
Same here.
Preparing pheasants.
Yep.
These are skills. it amazes me how. What would you say? Do you reckon, got chaps? 90% of the population are just completely removed from having those skills. Maybe
what,
that's
in this country?
generous.
In this country, I'll bet it's about 98%, mate.
Yeah,
genuinely, I do. There's not
Yeah.
many people. My mum can still dress anything like that.
Yeah, my mum
but-
can. She was
but
brought
I'll
up on a
bet
farm. So.
My sisters couldn't. Well, one's a vegan, so she definitely won't.
Right. Yeah.
She
But
gets
she go
very
out-
upset with her brother.
I don't think that's healthy either, being not eating
No,
meat.
of course
I
it's
mean,
not.
I think we were supposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
What
I
you
actually
say,
think we should.
Hatchie?
What do you think about turning to cannibalism and eating politicians? I mean, that would be a bit chewy, though, a bit gristly, wouldn't they? I'm joking, boys and girls. I'm not being serious. Right,
And they
Hatchie.
taste the shit as well, Chris. That's the other thing.
Oh yeah, full of bullshit, isn't it?
Mm.
If you cop a tube in a horse poo mound, yeah, so I do copper tubing. I put seriously in pots. I put a copper tube in. It works like a Bunsen burner. Great for warming a can of beans. That's interesting. We won't mention southerly winds. That's it. Because I know the Victorians used to have horse manure, and they used to put it in like a clotch, didn't they? And it kept it warm, and they could grow bananas and things in this country because the ground was so warm. Right, Ralph Winter, France. Really?
We need
We
some
gone to
context.
France?
Need some context there, Ralph. For that could have been something we were talking about 40 minutes ago.
Oh, hang on. It's the Olympics.
Oh, well
hey!
done. Yes.
Back in the
Don't they
room.
have massive amounts of symbolism in Olympic ceremonies? Yes, they do. And it says here, Paris 2024
Right. Well played,
Olympic
Ralph.
Games.
There you go. That's where the next one is.
Well done.
Yeah.
And then French are
I
going to
wonder
take
if
the
they'll be
games
allowed
over
to have
to
that, or if the
Ukraine.
farmers will fuck it up.
I was just about to say, that's assuming the French can behave themselves. I mean, that was interesting how that yellow vest movement was gaining so much momentum. And then all of a sudden we had the nonsense come along, and that put a stop to all that. It would have been interesting to see. I think that could have spread around Europe. And again, I wonder about the timing and whether that was, they were starting to get a bit twitchy. And they were like, "Oh, release the virus, release the virus." Yeah, and that was why, because none of it's an accident. It never is. They've
I'll tell you what.
We're on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, mate. I didn't say the C word.
Coincidences are definitely in more.
That's right. Did you
I
ever
don't
see?
believe in them, Mark. Never have. Don't
Did you
believe
ever
in
see
coincidences.
what someone filmed from the top of a block of flats? And I think I saw there's palm trees around, so it must have been like southern France. And you saw the French police down this alley, and somebody with military training must have been doing something with the yellow vests. It was brilliant. It was, because what happened, it's the oldest trick in the book. This load of yellow vests went up, and there's the French police, they're firing rubber bullets and things, and they run. So the police gave chase and went straight into an ambush, and they were surrounded. And you could see them, they got shot, they're going like this. And eventually someone just calmed it down and told them to take their helmets off and put their shields down. And they just walked through, and they let them out, but they had to take their helmets off to film who it was behind these things. Didn't harm them, but that you could tell these police were shitting themselves because they'd actually
done any harm. But the trouble is, they're the kind of personalities, Chris, where they will take that, and instead of that, they won't look upon that as a positive experience where these people didn't harm them. They will look upon that as, look what them wankers did. We're going to have to get them for that. And that will, unfortunately, my take on that is that will make them, that's like poking a dog in a cage with a stick and then opening the cage. That's my take on that, is you're going to aggravate them. They're not going to look upon it as you've done a good thing. They're just going to be even more wound up because I think if you've got them, I shouldn't say what I think, but if you've got them, trapped like that, you're probably better off just finishing them there and then, because once you've wronged them, then they'll come at you, mate. I mean, my experience.
Did you see that with the tractors though? Where you had this lorry that was spraying, they have where they spray the people, and this tractor came along, lifted it up, and just moved it out of the way. Not very polite. It was just moved it out of the way.
Water cannon, yeah, that was brilliant.
Water cannon, that's it. I couldn't stop laughing, but it was so polite the way it did it. You know, just lifted it. Just, as if it was like, you know, when you move something across from a table, move it out of the way. Brilliant. Right. It says here, that's life, but not as we know. It says, I'm not a racist. I have 2 coloured TVs at home.
Very good. Very good.
Right. Languages are all, this is Rabbit Stew, all divide and conquer.
I think so.
Right. And we've got to be careful on this one. I know the answer to this. It's a 3, possibly 4-letter word. But we mustn't say it on air. 3 guesses who were the first slavers. Yes, I think it's the people that control the money as well, but we won't go into that. Gender to turn us third world.
Always.
Right. Then we've got Chris the Gardener, expect the unexpected. Me, local Chinky, has renamed Fu Manchu. The best one was a fish and chip shop called Cod Almighty.
That's good. That's good.
A wicked.
I've seen the Codfather as well.
Yeah, we've got Codfathers where we are.
Have you?
Codfathers.
Codfathers, yeah.
Right. I'll tell you the other one I saw.
Run out of battery.
And it's still called, it's a cement, you know, these lorries that go along mixing the cement, ready mix. It's called Jibble Mix It.
That's good. I like that.
Now, he says, does a wicked chow mein, Christopher Lee delivers. Proper occultist. Couldn't make it up.
I like that, actually. I like that. Right.
What's this? Was it 100% at Chris the Gardener? Percent sorry. Okay. There we go. Rabbit Stew says 100% Chris Gardner. Religions are and conquer again.
Yeah.
And yes, that's it. And we said that twice. That's it. And it's like me. I mean, I was lucky. I mean, like you two, I brought up CV, Church of England. But my parents, my mum was quite religious, but my dad wasn't so much. So I never went to Sunday school. So I got out of that. I was all right there. So
you lucky git.
Lucky little lucky. But
you were.
There's always one.
Yes. It says, it's smarmy little git. They will slaughter us en masse once timing's right. I'm awake and timing's near. Yes.
I like
Ali Bev said, I'm signed into Telegraph.
You should be grateful, Chris. She is probably following you there. Ali Bev, sorry, Ali, that's one of them. You
that's
could
me.
Be a chap, or you could be a chap S, so I won't assume.
Ali Bev, thanks for joining the Fuck 'em All group, and I hope you like my smutty fart gags on there. And that's all, you know. So there we go.
Everybody likes your smutty fart gags, Chris.
Chris,
before you go to your next comment, I've just got to show you this. So a few years ago, Jess was having a bit of a struggling time, and my mum bought her this coaster, and I've just put my cup of tea on it, and it just makes me smile. So I'm going to share it with everyone. And look at this. Let me try and get that in. How badly have I? There.
The pig of happiness made this. His joyful smile remind us how much there is to be happy about.
How good is that? How good is that?
That's right.
So
well, you look at a pig. That's the old saying, isn't it? As happy as a pig in shit.
Exactly.
That's the old saying, wasn't it?
The fact that there's a happy pig, and every time you pick your cup of tea up, you see a smiling, happy pig. What a wonderful thing. Sorry.
Well, it could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse, couldn't it?
Right. Chris, read your dad's book. I'm well up on Hellstorm. Yes. Hellstorm, you can actually see that on BitChute, I believe. Can't see it on YouTube. Well worth it. And there's a book as well, Hellstorm. It tells you more from a different angle what it really was. I can't really go into it. I knew it. Chris the Gardener. That's it. There it says here. That's life as we know it. And it's the 33rd games. As
spicy.
Yes.
That is spicy.
Yeah.
They like that number.
They do. 33 levels.
Right.
33 wings on the feather on the bird on the American.
Yeah.
Have to remember the world is but a stage. Ali Bev says, I do follow you on Telegram. Thanks, Ali Bev. That's very kind of you. And you can now download some of this money, you see, from the website. So, yes. And yes, I did load a gag up the other day. No, I think it's yesterday. I was a bit fed up, so I loaded a gag up there. So you always know when I'm a bit fed up, I always load a smutty gag up on Telegram. So there we go.
Either that or he has too much time on his hands.
Well, that's it. You never know. But what you're saying, Mark, about this the food situation? Do you think we should stock up on tins of carrots and potatoes? I
think if people by this point have not stocked up, they've missed the trick. Personally, because they would have beat inflation.
Yeah,
beat food inflation hands down. They would also not have to face the carnage what's going to come in the forthcoming months in supermarkets. I think that people need to get their head out of their arses, basically. Get to wherever you need to get to. I don't endorse supermarkets. I think they're scum and they should all be banned and blown up and all sorts of nasty things.
They're a necessary evil, Mark, at the moment.
They are. And I would also say, Chris, that farming as we do it at present, using glyphosates and fake nitrogens, is the same, because we cannot produce the amount of food the country needs at this point without those evils.
And but ultimately we've got to find a way away from it, haven't we? Because we're killing our soil. We are literally killing our soil.
But what I was going to say is,
sorry,
go on. No, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it'll take years to recover, won't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with the People's Food and Farming Alliance quite heavily at the moment, the PFFA, and within that, we are looking at solution-based opportunities for the public to get involved in helping farms make that transition. So if a farmer's got 100 acres and he farms it just himself with the use of tractors and big drills and combines and everything else, could you take a percentage of that farm, let's say a 10-acre field, and turn that into a horticultural site to grow vast amounts of food in a small area? Yes, you can, but you need hands. And that is where the public have to take control of this. And the public have to take ownership of the problem.
I agree.
And the biggest thing the public want to do something about, stop spending money with them fucking supermarkets. Take it away from them, right? For me, I work full-time in a fruit and veg wholesale company, and I've had to train myself, right? Because it's really easy for us, if we can't buy something in the trade, to just pop the Tesco's and buy it, right? Because then bastards have always got it. So I've had to really train myself not to go down that road. And the other thing is using independent filling stations instead of supermarkets, because they're 5p cheaper, right? It's like, is it about the 5 pence a litre you're saving, or is it about the genuine belief that you want to pull them sods to the ground and take their money away from them? And that, to me, has been more important in building the business up for this, for the company, than it has for me to go, oh, well, we got that sorted out for the customer. If we haven't got no raspberries and the only option is Tesco's, I ring the customer and say, do you want strawberries instead? Let's be honest with the situation. Let's take the power away from them. Their power sits, BlackRock and that other bloody Vanguard, right? They bankroll everything, and everything sits on the fact of the cash they take. Take it away from them, they're screwed.
I agree. I totally agree.
Spot right on. The trouble is, where I live, for example, there used to be a greengrocer in Waltham Abbey that sold Kent cob nuts. Now, you can't buy Kent cob nuts, as far as I know, anywhere that I know of. There's no greengrocers left. There's a butcher hanging on by his fingernails. But, for example, if I want to go out and buy some spuds, where do I go? But there is a farm shop, but that only sells milk straight from the cows, which is good. I can get milk and I can get eggs. But I can't get stuff like spuds unless I grow it myself. There's nowhere around here that I know.
The other option is, Chris, I don't know whereabouts in the country you are, but there is hundreds upon hundreds of veg box schemes popping up all over the place. Small independent little growers. I'm a coordinator of the Land Workers Alliance, and if you go to the Open Food Network, that's a great resource. Chris, I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
There's a website called the Open Food Network.
Hang on. Shall I put a little banner at the bottom of the
go for it.
Was it the
Open Food Network?
Food Network, and it's a website, isn't it?
Yeah. So what it allows, farmers can advertise what they've got available, and the public can go on there and buy it. And in between the customer and the farm sits a thing called a food hub, right? And these are just set up by volunteers who have all the stuff delivered into them. They make the boxes up and they send it out. Some of these have got small growing schemes attached to them, independent little farms, things like that. So the principle is that the public can go, I'll have a bunch of carrots from that farm, I'll have a pint of milk from that farm, I'll have half a lamb from that farm, and some potatoes from that farm, and it all ends up in one box on their doorstep. It's brilliant.
That is brilliant, mate.
More people need to be using that network, and more farmers need to be going on.
I agree with you.
Absolutely superb.
Totally.
And also, stop. We don't. I proved that we don't need so much building. We really don't. I've actually proved that. I did a report a couple of years ago. There was a planning submission put in, and I actually did a 25-page report on it to prove that we didn't need the housing. We need, like I think Richard Bowes was saying, what we used to have apparently in the 20s and 30s, you'd have so much housing, and then you'd have farms to support the housing.
Yeah.
And I mean, where I live, I mean, it's very famous for market gardening where I live.
Yeah.
They have tomatoes. Apparently, round Nasing is the biggest cucumber growers, I think, in Great Britain. I think more cucumbers come from Nasing than anywhere else. That's in just over the border in Essex. And
we know that there's a huge one down there, which is I can't think what the name of it is. They grow 3% of all the cucumbers and salad in the country. They went into receivership last week.
Oh no!
In the last few years, the lot, especially in the States.
I've got a theory on this now. Work with me here. Is it because they're not producing the food at the profit margin they need? All these places are sitting derelict, not pulled down, not empty, just not turning over any vegetables, right? If you own Vandergaard, if you own the likes of all these top-notch banking infrastructure people, right? If you thought you were going to grow a cucumber for 30 pence and you shut that plant down and you don't grow any for 5 years, and in 5 years' time there's no food, suddenly a cucumber's worth £5, what are you going to do? I think all these places have been deliberately shut down to force the price of food up and to force the fact that there is no food. When it's profitable, then bastards will soon be back in.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Because,
interesting take, Mark. Yeah. What I think is certain is that this year and next year, and to be fair, I said this last year and it didn't happen, but I do think it is going to happen. The food supply chain is going to collapse. It is, because it's on its knees at the moment anyway. And I mean, I was in the local, we call it the coop, but the co-op basically. I was in the local coop with one of my customers today because, yes, even though it's a bank holiday, I still work today. So, because when you're self-employed, mate, it's
get on with it.
It's
suck it up.
There's no holiday pay or sick pay or anything like that.
You don't have holidays when you're self-employed. That's the thing. You don't.
I take 2 weeks at Christmas and a week in the summer. That's my holidays. That's it. So I have a week in June around my birthday, middle of June. I know, totally, mate. And 2 weeks at Christmas that is never 2 weeks. By the Tuesday of the second week, I guarantee you someone will have rung me up and asked me to do something. And by the Wednesday, I'll just be back to work. So I always say I'm going to have 2 weeks at Christmas and I'm always back at work normally the Wednesday after New Year. So, I bank holidays to me. If I want a day off, I'd rather take it when everyone else is at work. And but anyway, where was I going? I've tangented massively here. I started with when I was at work today. So my old boy, because he's an old boy, I do whatever he wants me to do. If that's the garden, it's the garden. If he wants me to wash his car, I'll wash his car. One of the things he likes to do is for me to go to the coop to go shopping with him. I'm getting to my point now. I couldn't believe the price of some of the things in there today, mate. When we were looking, I mean, cheese now, not even a large block of cheese, but a block of cheese now, you're looking £3.
Yeah.
for just a regular size block of cheese. That's, you know, like, what was it we picked up? He picked up something, vegetable, and I couldn't believe it. It was like £3 something. Can't think what it was now, but something he picked up from the vegetable thing, and it was like £3 something. It would have been £1 4 years ago. You know, this is part of how they're going to hit it, is they're going to make it food become unaffordable. And then it's going to become even more unaffordable, Mark, because the supply chain is going to break. And
then if you then bring out a product, let's say, I don't know, cockroach burgers or synthetic meat, and that's really cheap, people would buy it through desperation to feed their families, and then you've got them.
Soylent Green.
Not only that, junk food will be readily available.
You say that,
no shortage of junk food.
Chris, you say that. McDonald's are struggling massively, especially in America, because the price of a McDonald's meal in America has shot up to like 18, 19 bucks.
It's gone up a lot,
Junk food in that, in its current form, I think they're as keen to get rid of that because it's meat. The majority of it's meat. I reckon in 10 years, there'll be a whole, like, we won't recognize the junk food companies. They'll be all new and they'll be all plant-based.
Well, you're seeing that in McDonald's now. I don't eat in there. I haven't eaten in there for years. However, when you go past now on the advertising boards, it's all plant-based burgers now, as opposed to, they're making that change. They're already
they'll make the meat burgers so expensive that people won't be able to afford them. But they'll still have them because they'll say, well, we believe in choice. You can choose. But the meat burgers will be beyond the reach of most people, and like you say, it'll be the cockroach and the mealworm burgers and the cricket sausage hot dogs and all that.
But if you go in Tesco's, a lot of the food now has already got that in.
Yes,
loads of things on supermarket shelves have got cockroaches ground up into flour. And it's already in there.
Citin, I think it's citin that's in it, which is not very good for you.
Chitin or citin or something like that.
Look at this for a perfect example. Bird feeders. It's got that synthetic butter mixed with bird seed. The birds won't touch it.
That's because you're trying to kill them.
Well, that's it. Robin came down, gave it a little peck, and thought, "Sod that." That's it. And it's still like that. But should we have a quick look in chat?
I think we probably should.
I think we should. We've been on here 2 hours.
Chitting. Yes, that's what you'll have. That's what you'll be doing if you eat that synthetic stuff. You'll be doing lots of chitting. But yes. Anyway, now we got here camera. Now, camera. I think you've got
Louise
a name.
Wilcox. Hello,
is it
Louise.
Really?
It's
Louise. That's who it is. Hello, Louise. Oh, sorry. Perhaps we haven't given the game. We've given the game away now.
She knows. She made that public last week, mate. So I won't worry.
Good evening. I'm very late. Lines all done. A note from parents forged. Hope everyone is well, but we'll do a catch up tomorrow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this on April the 2nd. So there we go, because it's April the 1st.
Don't leave it till the 8th of April, mate, because the world's going to end then.
That's it. World's kind of
again.
Contract the food, you control the masses. Correct?
Yep. Spot on.
Islands are the most vulnerable of all.
Ooh. Even if they've got a tunnel.
And do you think about it? You remember that statistic you gave the other week, Mark, which was
which one?
We 80% of our food, we supplied our own food in 1980, and now it's down to 49%.
49%, and dropping.
Shocking that is, mate. And there's no need for it.
Do you know that in the last couple of months, I don't know if I gave you this stat when I was in the last time, but there's a get out of farming payment which is available for farmers to retire and sell their farms. They get £100,000+ just to retire, right? And then they get to sell the farm for extortionate amounts of money because it's all bought up by Vanguard and so forth. And there is 2,000 farmers have already taken that payment.
And they're not allowed to farm again, are they?
No, they're not allowed to farm again, and the land is taken out of circulation.
Yeah.
So what you've got is 105,000 farms in the UK. 2,000 have already taken the payment to get out.
Disgusting.
They're
Well,
desperate. They don't know what to do.
I'm not saying the farmers disgusting, because I get it. They are struggling and they just want out. They've had enough.
They've been forced into a corner that they don't know where to go with it. The public haven't supported them. The public have not supported the farmers, and they really fucking need to get a grip with that.
Because we have been so used to the last 30 years getting our food for a pittance from the supermarkets and not thinking about the consequences of how it got there or who suffers so for us to have it at that price. Same with clothes, mate. Exactly the same with clothes, and it's been like it for years. We're all quite happy to go and buy a T-shirt for 10 quid.
Yeah. But we don't want to accept that kids have been slaughtered in the background to do it.
Most of us know what it took to make that T-shirt for a tenner. Some kid is earning $5 a month, sitting in a factory from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, putting them T-shirts together.
I had a friend boast on Facebook about his new Tesla he bought the other day for £89,000. He soon removed his post after I questioned him about where the lithium came from.
And the cobalt.
Yeah, I said to him, do you know about this? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you know about all these mines out in the Congo. I said, and how we're got all these kids working out there to produce the cobalt and the lithium what you need for your car to be produced. And he was like, no, that can't be right. And after about an hour, he come back to me, private messaged me. He went, fucking hell, I had no idea.
No, because they don't sell that bit, mate.
No, of course they don't.
Oh, no. Don't start me off about bloody electric cars. As I said the other week, if we had little mini electric cars that you could go down the supermarket with using lead acid batteries, which had a range of about 20 miles, fine. But then you had your main.
Your tongue on them, they used to give you that tingle, didn't they?
That's it, a little tingle. But have you seen them? Excuse me a minute. There's one made in England, or Britain rather. I'll be very blunt. It's a poxy looking thing. It looks like a pram. And I saw him reviewing it on this, was it Electric Show or something? And the bloke was trying to sort of hype it up a bit. It's shit. Absolute shit. It's a real sort of dodgy car. You have to wear false goofy teeth to drive it with a pointed hat. And he's driving around London. Oh, he said, it's horrible. And it's the cheapest one. It's about 6,000 quid. They'd have to pay me 6,000 quid to drive it.
But what were them little plastic cars we had in the 80s? Were they a C5 or something, weren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, those
little pedal cars.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I bet if he launched them now, they'd take off.
Probably would, mate. Yeah.
I'd like to patent to them.
Well, do you know what I was saying? They said, what is it? That looks like an invalid car. But I'm not an invalid. Well, you soon will be if you sit in one of those bloody things. Sorry.
They were pretty, to be fair, your ass was on the ground, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know whether I'd feel safe driving one of them in front of a HGV.
Well, you say that. I remember coming over London Bridge one morning when I was going down to London to buy fruit and veg, and I came out and I was with my mate and he was driving. He says to me, did you just see that? And this little thing, this little plastic car disappeared. This lorry was in the right-hand lane, turned to go left, and he disappeared under it. And I thought, fucking hell, he's dead. And then as the lorry got out of the way, he was sailed off up the hill. He'd gone right underneath the back of this lorry and come out the other side.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy that, mate.
No way.
No way. No way, Jose. Mate,
it's frightening enough on a push bike. I mean, what alone? But at least you're up a little bit higher on a push bike. But what gets me is these blokes on these
on a bike than in one of them, mate.
Yeah,
you're more visible. Hopefully, though, I will never ever have to go to London again in my life. I've done my time in London.
I second that.
I've heard it as well. Did you test the place?
Yeah, I had a mate who used to live in Kentish Town back in the sort of noughties, and I used to go to a lot of music gigs back then, and we'd always buy him a ticket on the proviso that we had somewhere to stay for the night. And it wouldn't be unusual for me to go down to London 6 weekends in a row and spend the whole weekend down there, because we'd go up Camden and knock about in the World's End and Camden Lock and places like that, and I just loved it. But having said that, every time we come home on Sunday afternoon, I was glad to be coming home.
Yeah,
I never felt like I wanted more than 2 days there. And you'd get back into Norfolk and you'd blow your nose, and the shit that would come out of your nose, and you'd be like, really?
Imagine
people
living there.
live in that, It's like people are used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've resolved that now because they've got ULEZ. So
Of course.
Stopped all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great thing about ULEZ, Mark, this has buzzed me from the start because I read this quite early doors with ULEZ. The air on the underground is 95% more fucking toxic than the air above the ground. Oh, hello, Mark.
That's it.
Cheerio.
Oh, hang on, he's gone off. Well, whilst you're doing that, we go into chat.
You've got the someone ringing me. You've got the asbestos situation, and just listen, guys. I've just had a thought. I know that was ringing me. It's 10 o'clock, and I'm supposed to be at work.
Oh, blimey, you better go.
Well, actually,
can you hear me, guys?
I'll quickly run through the chat. We got here, Louise. Sorry, cameras said, Hunger Games is the destination. The food supply chain will collapse worldwide. The poor will starve, and people will go mad through hunger. Yes, but you're only three. Right. You're
Can
only
you hear
three.
Us,
what's the name? 3 meals away from a revolution, and they know it.
We've lost Mark.
And we've lost Mark. Well, we'll carry on.
Shame.
Oh, it's a shame. Says here, food has doubled in 2 years.
Easily, Hatchie.
Yes,
easily.
And so has council.
Yeah. And Hatchie, you've got Buds as well. I don't know what you feed Buds, whether he has dog food or whether you feed him something different. I mean, ours have what I would call the high end of the dog food. So we spend quite a bit on it, but it is dog food. And it'd be interesting to see Hatchie, because I used to buy this stuff called Arden Grange. And when I first got Wiz, a big sack of it used to be 18 quid. And it went up and up and up. And about 2 years ago, this Arden Grange was up to about 45 quid a sack. And then it went up to 60. And I said to Jess, we're going to have to look for something else because this is ridiculous. It's gone up. I mean, just in the last 3 years, it's gone up from 30 quid to 60 quid. So we've had to compromise now and get something else. But be interesting to hear what you think your take is on that, Hatchie, whether that's something you've experienced, that dog food as well has gone up just as much as human food.
Interesting. Soylent Green is camera equals good harvest. Check out the human source lab meat.
That's what they did in the film, didn't they? They incited riots feeding people, and then all the ones that didn't get fed, they just got scooped up in the bulldozers and made into more Soylent Green. That's it.
Yes, Soylent Green. Robin Reliant. Don't start me off. I had actually
a Reliant.
Well, I've actually
for gardening.
I knew someone that had one, and if you are actually in one of those whilst it's raining, it's like sitting under Niagara Falls because it's
they're awesome. Mate, my mate Stan had one. Yeah, I love
hang on. Mark's back. Hello, mate. There you go.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, mate.
Sorry, I had a phone call from work, and I thought suddenly I just dawned on me that nobody can get in the place because I've got the only gate keys.
Oh shit!
Oh bloody hell!
Hey,
we're coming into the show anyway.
So anyway,
hang on.
I've rung it and I've opened the gate.
Right.
My retired roofer mate carried battens, slates, and tiles for roofs in them. Only license he had to do the job. I wasn't the best pleased, as one can imagine. Oh, this is what's this? I must have lost something here. Oh, Sinclair C5.
Oh, that's it.
No,
C5, that's the one.
Nothing wrong with the C5.
That's it. Yes, that's it. But anyway, we've got the check will be in the post. Crowdfunding, fantastic show. Generous. Chris, G, and Mark. Oh, that's not Chris. Sorry, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Chris
Chris G is me, mate.
That's
Chris
it.
Yeah.
Chris Gardner.
I've said before, you can just call me CTG if you want, chaps. I don't mind.
You could do a bowler hat. I was going to have a silver hat tonight and put it on. Yeah, what do they call it? The tinfoil hat.
A tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat. They're quite popular these days.
Maybe we should all do that. Maybe next time we come on together, all
three of us
just have tinfoil hats on. I think that'd be brilliant.
I'm up for that.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Definitely.
Silver bowler hat.
Yeah, mate. You could just cover your bowler hat in tinfoil. I could do my beanie, and Chris can just do his head.
Yeah, just have the head here, you know. But it's true what Kat said here. Look, that stuff.
Yeah.
And I won't say the word.
Yeah, that's what I've read about it as well. Our bodies can't break it down. They can't process it. It just stays in your body. So, yeah, but that's what they'd like, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, we've come to the end of the show now. the fastest 2 hours that's whizzed past.
Always
And
is.
as Chris and Mark, you're both regulars now.
Oh,
We can have the
Honoured.
old. Well, I'm regular every morning. And no, we can have this tinfoil hats a lot. So
I think we should.
next time you come on.
I think we should.
So
Definitely.
thank
I'm
you,
up
Start a new
everybody.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, just
That's a
play
good
it.
idea.
Just be what they already think we are anyway. So we can just yeah, all right, tinfoil hat.
But do they think we are? Or do most of the people on this show think we're on the level?
Oh, on this show, our very select audience here, I would say you've got to be thinking like we are to sit through 2 hours of it. Because if not, you'd be throwing things at the screen, wouldn't you? You've got to have a slightly different viewpoint. But,
well, I know someone that just couldn't watch it. Oh, I don't understand it. What's all this about? I just don't know what it is. I just watch the BBC. That tells me all I want to do. Ooh, you know.
Chris, my mum watches these.
Does she?
Not
Hello,
live,
Mum.
Not live, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hello, Mum.
But
tomorrow.
That takes her about 4 weeks, mate. I normally send her the link a couple of days after, and then, but she does watch them, and
Excellent.
yeah. So there you go.
Thank you very much. So there we are, and we've got our, and also I quite like the shadow banning. It's getting really interesting because it's sort of going up and down like a tart's drawers. My viewing figures.
The classic one is still that cunning perception that me and you did, where it was up at over 300 views, and then within like the space of 5 minutes of one of us looking at it, it dropped down to 230 something.
That's it, yeah.
Not even subtle, Mark. They're not even subtle, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've noticed that on Faceache now, that I don't know if you know this, but if you put a post up and then you go into and put the @ sign, it'll bring up followers, right? So it brings up the word followers, and if you click it, then it sends a message to all your followers in one go, telling them you put up a new post.
Right.
So I've got 11,000 followers, so I can send a message instantly just by tagging the followers in, and it sends 11,000 people a message. However, if I put a YouTube video up and put that on Faceache and then put followers in, it won't let them leave Facebook to go and view it. It doesn't add the link. But if I put the video live to Faceache, then it will allow me to do it. It's like, just manipulation at its best.
Mate, I haven't been on FBI Book now since 2018. The last post I put up there was when we had our Cocker Spaniel put to sleep in 2018. And that's the last time I actually went on there. I couldn't even tell you my password, mate, to get into my account anymore, which is kind of how I like it. But
I only use it for fucking...
Mate, I was just about to say, I can see the value in it if you're doing something like either you or Chris are doing. It's because what you can do is you can use it like a fishing line, can't you?
Absolutely.
You can reel people in and then send them to where you want them to get the information. So I get it, mate, but I have no use for it. I don't have any kind of, apart from these shows and commenting on a radio show that I listen to, there's no online presence for me, mate, at all. People have suggested, why don't you do a gardening video? Why don't you do this? Number one, I don't think I could probably cope with all the editing and things like that would go into it.
I don't do any. I just do it all like...
Your mate does it, doesn't he?
I just stick it up. No, we don't edit anything.
Right, you just put the
I just
thing up.
do a video. If it's wrong, I just got to run with it.
But the other thing, mate, is the time. It's just like, you know, Mark, as well as this time of year now, mate. It's that
everything's
time of
growing,
year, mate, and everyone comes out the woodwork in March. So in the last week, I mean, I've had to turn work down the next 2 weeks because obviously I'm going to have some time off for Jess. But the last couple of weeks, mate, it's always the same. I have customers that I don't hear from November to March, and then it'll always be the same week in March and bugger me. They all get in touch at once and they all want their lawns cutting, and it's silly, but it is what it is, mate. And I'm happy, mate. I'm a happy bunny. I honestly made the best decision, apart from the one where I decided to get hitched to Jess. It was the best life decision I ever made, mate. Getting my hands back into the soil and becoming an outdoor person and learning about plants and growing.
No, there's no mistakes in nature. Remember that.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it, mate?
Well, on that note,
yeah,
you know,
Tally ho.
we've gone quite over the.
We have, and my battery is at
Oh,
4%.
So,
Best
well,
we all go there. I've got to go to work yet. I'm now
You
going
have.
to work.
bloody
Good
hell.
luck with that, mate.
Good luck. And I was going to say is same place, same time next week, if the klaxons haven't gone off at YouTube, of course.
I think we've done
Also,
all right.
you know, I've got the Facebook thing. What is it? It's fuck them all on Facebook, so I can fuck them. So that's it. I've got a Facebook group, fuck them all, and that's quite a lot. That's actually it's quite vibrant. A load of people joining it, so it's, you know, it's quite
Happy days.
that's quite fun. So happy days. And
Mark,
thank
plug
you.
your channel again, Mark, before we go.
The bowler hat farmer.
The bowler
Thank
hat
you.
farmer. We put it along the bottom earlier,
That's
didn't we?
on
Bowler hat
YouTube, and the
farmer.
other one's the Art Project on Faceache.
That's the one.
That's right, the art product, and
Project.
and that as well, and project. And thank you everybody in chat, and also everybody that comments, and it's the audience that make the show.
It
And
is.
thank you both, Mark and Chris, for coming on this evening. It's been
Pleasure.
fantastic. And we, as I say, same time, same place, with a mystery guest next week. So there we go. And just leaves me to say, I don't know if you've got anything more to say, Mark, Chris.
No, stock up because the shortages are coming. Stock up on food and water because they'll
And
turn that off.
And learn how to learn about seasonal food. Learn what's out there that you can forage that costs nothing. Learn about dandelions and nettles.
Yes.
Things that you can eat that will give you good things like iron.
We're doing a show on that soon.
Yeah,
so
learn. Teach yourselves now. Don't wait
Yeah.
for the show. Start reading up on it now and learn.
Yeah.
And Mark, from my perspective, it's been a blast. It was lovely to meet you, mate. It really was.
And you guys, Chris,
thanks for that.
good luck with you and Mrs. tomorrow, mate.
Bless you. Thank you, mate.
Likewise, good luck. It's going to be okay.
It will.
Oh,
as I say,
it will.
Whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.
Cheers.